Welcome everyone to my 6 months progress report. I would like to introduce you to some of my research work that I have been doing since September in the topic of clinicopathological evaluation of cutaneous lupus. My name is Laura Bokor. I'm a medical doctor and a full-time PhD student at the Department of Dermatology, Venerology, and Dermato-Oncology at Semmelweis University. My vision is to improve the quality of life of patients suffering from cutaneous lupus erythematosus. In order to achieve this, my mission is to find more efficient therapeutic options for cutaneous lupus. Currently, I have 2 ongoing projects, both in the topic of cutaneous lupus, but we are using different methodologies. My first project is the investigation of the efficacy and safety of novel therapeutical options in cutaneous lupus, and we are doing a systematic review and meta-analysis. So first, let me share a few pieces of information with you about this disease. Cutaneous lupus erythematosus is an autoimmune skin disease. There are more than 300,000 new patients every year worldwide who suffer from inflamed, scaling, or scarring lesions, or they might have scarring alopecia. Unfortunately, due to these symptoms, these patients have a substantial decrease in their quality of life. The gold standard therapy for cutaneous lupus are topical or systemic glucocorticoids or antimalarials. However, as you may already know, glucocorticoids might have serious side effects, and the response rate to antimalarials is only approximately 50%. Recently, novel therapies have emerged, for example, biologics like anifrolumab, and the small molecules such as JAK inhibitors. However, there's only limited evidence available on their usage in cutaneous lupus. Therefore, our aim is to find the most effective and safest novel therapy for cutaneous lupus erythematosus. According to our aim, our clinical question is similar. What is the safest and most effective novel treatment in this disease? We are using the PICO framework, where our population is patients with cutaneous lupus. Our interventions are biologics and small molecules, and we compare them to placebo or no comparator at all. And our outcomes are efficacy and adverse events. We are using the CLOSI score, as you can see it here on the picture, as our efficacy measure, which is a specific score for cutaneous lupus that measures the activity and the damage of the disease on a scale from 0 to 70. And the number 50 means that the patients have reached at least a 50% reduction in their CLOSI score after treatment. Our hypothesis is that anifrolumab, a novel biologic, is the most effective and safest novel therapy in the treatment of cutaneous lupus erythematosus. We conducted our systematic search in the 3 main databases in November, and here down below you can see my search key, which consists of 2 domains. Here you can see the flowchart of my selection. I started with over 18,000 records, and I ended up, after the selection process, with 58 eligible full-text articles. So let me introduce you to the structure of my meta-analysis, since it consists of 2 parts. A part is a meta-analysis of observational studies, and the second one is a network meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials. We have already finished the network meta-analysis part, and we investigated these 3 outcomes: the number of patients who reached CLOSI 50 after treatment, the odds ratio of any adverse events, and the odds ratio of serious adverse events. We have still an ongoing analysis of the meta-analysis of observational studies, and we are investigating the same 3 outcomes as we investigated in the network meta-analysis. So let me introduce you to some of my plots from the network meta-analysis. On the left, you can see the net forest plot, where all the novel treatments in cutaneous lupus are compared to placebo, and you can observe a clear ranking between these treatments based on their efficacy, which was measured with the CLOSI 50 score. To our surprise, deucravacitinib, a JAK inhibitor, came out as the most effective therapy in cutaneous lupus, and not anifrolumab, as we hypothesized. On the right, you can see my sucra plot, which is a great visual representation of the overall ranking of these treatments, in this case based on their efficacy, and I marked deucravacitinib with the arrows. On these plots, you can see the overall safety profile of these novel therapies. Here, every new treatment of cutaneous lupus is compared to placebo as well, but in terms of the odds ratio of any adverse events. I've marked deucravacitinib with the different colored green lines. These green colors match the colors that mark deucravacitinib on the sucra plot on the right. As you can see, there is no significant difference between deucravacitinib and placebo in terms of the odds ratio of any adverse events, so we can conclude that it is a safe treatment. These plots are quite similar than the previous ones. However, here we compared the novel treatments in cutaneous lupus to placebo in terms of the odds ratio of serious adverse events. I've marked deucravacitinib with the green lines as well, and you can see that here as well, there is no significant difference between deucravacitinib and placebo in terms of the odds ratio of serious adverse events. So I would like to summarize the strengths and limitations of my study. My strengths consist of that it's a comprehensive meta-analysis of the novel treatments in cutaneous lupus. It has a network meta-analysis part, and we work with high patient numbers. Our limitation contains that there's a high heterogeneity of the CLOSI outcome, and there are only few direct comparisons due to the low number of studies of each interventions. So based on our preliminary results, we can conclude that deucravacitinib is the most effective and well-tolerated treatment in cutaneous lupus. This study could help to choose the most effective and safest novel therapy in cutaneous lupus. However, more randomized controlled trials are needed for each therapy, so we could make direct comparisons, and we need unified efficacy measures in cutaneous lupus. Here you can see the progress of my first project. I've just finished the data extraction and started the risk of bias assessment. I would like to jump to my second project, which is the epidemiological evaluation of patients with cutaneous lupus, and this is a retrospective cohort study. So the incidence of cutaneous lupus is 4/100,000. However, there's still few available data on the epidemiology of the subgroups, of the different subgroups of cutaneous lupus, so there are several open questions. For example, the difference in gender distribution in the different subtypes, the prevalence of autoimmune and malignant comorbidities, the clinical and laboratory differences, the prevalence of systematization, and so on. Unfortunately, there's only one previous register that is available, which was published in 2013, and they collected data from 4 years. So our aim is to collect data from the last 10 years at the Department of Dermatology, which is one of the biggest centers for autoimmune skin diseases in Hungary. And our aim is to analyze the prevalence of rare subtypes, the male-female ratio in different subtypes, comorbidities, smoking, and several different data as well. So all in all, our aim is to provide up-to-date epidemiological data of cutaneous lupus erythematosus. So in summary, I have 2 ongoing projects, both in the topic of cutaneous lupus. The first one is focusing on the therapy, and the second one is on the epidemiology of this disease. And I would like to thank you for your attention with the words of Banksy: if you get tired, learn to rest and not to quit. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. Is deucravacitinib available in Hungary?
Thank you very much. Yes, it's an available drug, but it's only approved for plaque psoriasis in adults.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for your excellent presentation. I would like to ask if those drugs that you presented, they also treat other symptoms of the disease you mentioned, if there are other symptoms.
Oh, could you please repeat the first part? Sorry.
So if the drugs that you mentioned, if they treat other symptoms of the disease, not only the skin part.
Yes, of course. Usually, almost all of these studies are conducted in patients with systemic lupus erythematosus, so they usually measured several other outcomes for different organ domains, for example, like arthritis, or nephritis in some case, or central nervous system symptoms of systemic lupus. There's quite a variability in which drugs could affect and has an effect on which organ domains, but yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation. As you mentioned in the background slide, the gold standard treatment is corticoids and anti-malarial drugs. Did you consider comparing these new drugs to the gold standard instead of comparing them with each other?
Yes, thank you. That was the first idea that came into our mind in September. However, there's no available studies that compare these new studies to the previous one, to the gold standard therapy. So we could not make any direct comparisons, and we didn't have any data. So that's why we chose this option.
Thank you. My second question is, in the studies, the control group is with placebo. Is it actually ethical to not give any treatment for cutaneous lupus and to treat the other arm? What do you think?
Well, usually most of these studies exclude patients who have severe systemic lupus erythematosus. So for example, with the ones with nephritis or central nervous system symptoms, so like 90% they exclude them, and the other patients usually have either skin symptoms or hematological differences or arthritis. So that's why I think it's ethical, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations on your presentation. It was very nice. I would like to ask whether these new therapies are approved for other skin diseases, and if yes, which other diseases are approved for?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, for example, JAK inhibitors are absolutely, so most of them are approved for different diseases. Since they're not approved for cutaneous lupus, it would be an off-label use. These diseases contain alopecia areata or atopic dermatitis or psoriasis, and some types of JAK inhibitors, but they have studies with vitiligo or dermatomyositis as well, so yes.
Congratulations to very nice results. My question would be if this medication is already present in Hungary, and if you are using it in the world, and if your experience concur to your results.
Thank you very much. Yes, most of them are, I think all of them is approved here in Hungary, usually for, as I mentioned before, for different skin diseases, but we can apply and get it off-label as well. Fortunately, my supervisor is very experienced using these agents, so yes, I'm learning from her a lot, and we're also using her experience in our studies and her opinion on these.
And did you see the same results in your practice as in your results?
So usually, which is why this result is very interesting, because they saw these results with anifrolumab, as we hypothesized, the first one, and they do not really use JAK inhibitors to cure cutaneous lupus. So this was an absolute surprise for us. So,
are you changing your current practice?
Well, we will see. We will wait for the whole results, and then yes, we will discuss.
Thank you for your answers.